friends, welcome to Wonderful Word Wednesday. I'm Barb Nemechek.
Hello everyone, I'm Jim Nemechek. And I think, Barb, I might like this particular message this week. We've got Hershey bars and nut roll and Planters peanuts, Fritos, and a tub of cookies. Of course, my next question is, what's this got to do with a Bible story?
Well, those snacks are going to relate to our message today. Which kind of snacks would you prefer? The sweet ones or the salty ones?
I think you know that answer. I would prefer the sweet ones, where you would prefer the salty ones. And I'm sure there's people out there that might even say both.
I think you're right about that. It is easy to compare and judge one better than the other, but comparison can be a trap because it's just an opinion, not a fact about which is the best.
Okay, but I come back to, how do these snacks relate to our Bible story?
Well, the Bible tells us about two sisters, Mary and Martha. Many times we want to compare Mary and Martha and deem one better than the other. But that wasn't the lesson that Jesus was trying to teach.
Okay, but there are three separate stories in the Bible that mention Mary and Martha specifically by name. Are we addressing all three?
Nope. We are going to talk about two of the three stories. First, let's share the story found in Luke chapter 10, beginning at the 38th verse.
Okay, and that story starts with Jesus and his disciples were on their way and came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She also had a sister named Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he had to say.
But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me."
"Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her."
Now, Martha usually gets a bad rap from this story. People tend to compare the two sisters and find Martha lacking, but that wasn't Jesus' intention. Jesus was actually pointing out that he is the ultimate source of fulfillment, and any of us can be distracted in the doing when we first should be focused on being with him.
It was not as important to do things for Jesus as it was to spend time with him. Jesus didn't want a dusted floor or a fresh loaf of bread or a nut roll, but he wanted people, and that's how he feels about us as well.
What's important is not just what we know or say or do. It's how we love God. In this day and age, being busy is considered a badge of glory. We are obsessed with doing, producing, accomplishing, achieving, and keeping up or getting ahead of those around us.
And even in church sometimes we might lose sight of the most important components by looking at how much we know or how much we have done.
There is nothing that we can do to earn God's love, and there's nothing we need to do to earn his love. He already loves us, and all we have to do is accept his love and know that Jesus died for all of us. He did all the work, and he wants us just to be ourselves and enjoy his presence.
Now, this story of Martha and Mary may be a familiar one, but it's always a positive reminder of the importance of resting in God's presence.
For centuries, people in the church have puzzled over the Mary and Martha story, knowing that somebody has to do the work. The point of this passage, however, is about making Jesus and his word our first priority. Today, we come to know Jesus better through prayer, church attendance, and Bible reading and Bible study.
You're right. This story is one we can return to over and over again in our walk of faith because the lesson itself is timeless. We all have aspects of both Martha and Mary within us. Let's look a little at their personalities somewhat closer.
Well, Martha has been compared to the Apostle Peter, practical, impulsive, and short-tempered to the point of rebuking the Lord himself.
While Mary, on the other hand, is sometimes compared to the Apostle John, reflective, loving, calm, and even still, Martha was a remarkable woman and deserves considerable credit. Consider the time frame in which she lived. It was quite rare in Jesus' day for a woman to manage her own affairs as head of a household, and especially to invite a man into her house. Yet welcoming Jesus and his disciples into the house implied the fullest form of hospitality and involved substantial generosity.
Now, Martha appears to be the eldest of the family and head of the sibling household. When Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, both sisters played a prominent role in the story, and their contrasting personalities are evident in this account as well.
Now, although both sisters were upset and disappointed that Jesus did not arrive before their brother Lazarus died, Martha ran out to meet Jesus as soon as she learned that he had entered the city of Bethany. But Mary waited at home. From John chapter 11, verse 32, it tells us that when Mary did finally go to Jesus, she fell at his feet weeping.
Some of us tend to be more like Mary in our Christian walk, while others resemble Martha. It's likely we have qualities of both within us. We may be inclined at times to let our busy lives of service distract us from spending time with Jesus and listening to his word.
Now, it's significant to note that Jesus gently admonished Martha for being worried and upset, but not for serving. Service is a good thing, but sitting at Jesus' feet is best to listen to his word. We must remember what is most important.
As we reflect on this story, we can ask ourselves these questions. Do I have my priorities in order? Like Martha, am I worried or anxious about many things? Or am I like Mary, focused on listening to Jesus and spending time in his presence?
Another question, perhaps, we should ask ourselves is, have I put devotion to Christ and his word first? Or am I more concerned about doing the good deeds?
Let's remember that good works should flow from a Christ-centered life. They do not produce a Christ-centered life. When we give Jesus the attention he deserves, he empowers us to serve others.
Let's go back for a minute to our plate of sweet and salty treats. They are different from each other, yet not necessarily better than another. The same can be said for Mary and Martha, and the same can be said for all of us as well. God doesn't mean for us to all exactly be alike. Differences are good.
Each sister had both strengths and weaknesses, like all of us. The important message is that we are our best self when we place our dependence and trust in Jesus as our source of fulfillment and not on ourselves or others.
In closing this week, we challenge you and ourselves to reflect on the questions we've brought up earlier. Do I have my priorities in order? Have I put devotion to Christ and his word first? Am I focused on listening to Jesus and spending time in his presence? And with that, let us now end in a word of prayer.
Dear God, thank you for the words of the Bible. Help us to slow down and rest in your presence. Help us to simplify our lives so that we have time to devote ourselves to reading the Bible, memorizing scriptures, and spending time in prayer and meditation. Help us to detach ourselves from the things that are getting in the way of our serving others in our daily lives.
You may add your personal intentions at this point.
Amen.
Amen.
Have a great week, everyone.
Have a good week. We'll catch you next week, Wednesday. Wonderful word, same time, same channel. Have a good week.